I'll be recorded. Welcome, Mr. Deforest. Thank you for being on the podcast, episode 4 of One the Come Up, where we go over our guest's entire life, see who they are personally, professionally, and then we see why they are. So essentially, we go back as far as I could research, as far as I could learn about the person. And for you, Mr. DeForest, that was back to your college days when you were a D1 athlete at UNC for swimming. So tell us, what's it like to be a D1 athlete? You know, it's a dream for many high school students.
Yeah, absolutely. You can call me Mitch, first of all. And
All right.
yeah, happy to be here. Excited to chat. Being a D1 athlete, it's amazing. It was a dream for me ever since I was little. I started swimming probably like competitively at 10 years old. I always wanted to swim in college. I knew I was going to. Both my parents did. So I had that dream, and then to be able to do it and be able to get a scholarship and be able to have this entire community of folks around me just helping me try to succeed in school and in sport was amazing.
Yeah. So would you recommend it to anyone that's looking to become a D1 athlete? Because I know it's like a job, it's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, we're basically working a full-time job. We're in the pool for 20 hours a week, in the weight room for another 10, 15 hours a week. And then, prep before and after. So you're working basically 40 hours a week on top of school. And I mean, for me, yeah, it was 100% worth it. And I think for a lot of my teammates, it was. For some people, it's not. And I think that school, college, university is a really cool time to figure out, like, what do you care about in life? What makes you excited, and what do you think is going to take yourself to the next level? For me, like, it was swimming until it wasn't, right? By the time I was getting ready to graduate, I knew I was done with the sport. I wasn't going to go pro. I'd already been to Olympic trials. Like, I accomplished everything I wanted to, and I was ready for that next chapter. But for me, it just taught me so much. So yeah, if you're passionate about a sport and you have the opportunity to go to a school where you can play your sport and get a great education and have a lot of fun and meet a lot of great people and be inspired, then heck yeah, you should definitely do it.
Wow, yeah, it really does seem like a dream come true. It really seems like amazing. So after college, I see that you went to two startups. Am I correct before you started Ramped?
Yeah, I worked at one startup called Yaypay right out of school, and then I went to a bigger company called Salesforce. I don't know what's exactly on my LinkedIn. I did start one or two other little small things here and there, but yeah, we can dive into whatever you're seeing.
Yeah. So it's interesting with Yaypay. Can you describe that initially, Yaypay? What was it like? Because that was also a new startup with three or four other founders that you started there. So what was your experience like there?
Yeah, for me, just going backwards a little bit, when I was in school as a business major, and I didn't really know what that meant and what to do with that. A lot of my friends went into like consulting or banking jobs. That didn't really seem to fit with me. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always knew I wanted to start my own company one day. I just had no clue how. And that was the dream growing up, but I had no clue what that actually meant, how to do it. So it was scary as hell for me. And so what I decided to do was I graduated, started interviewing around, and I started looking at really small companies, like the smallest companies I could find. And my idea was if I can find a founder who I trust and who's done it before, and I can learn from them, then maybe one day I'll be able to start my own thing. But this will basically be like a way for me to get money, get paid, right, earn money, and learn at the same time. So I found Yaypay. It was a four-person company. I joined as like employee number three or four, and two founders who started companies before that I got to learn from firsthand. I was the first sales hire. I had no clue what sales was. Like they just hired me and they said, "You'll do sales." I was like, "Okay, cool. What is sales?" And just spent a lot of time reading books and on YouTube to figure out what it meant to help the company grow and to bring in the first $1 million in revenue and go through two rounds of fundraising, and it was amazing. It was an incredible experience for me. But I think the way I just approached it was, how can I learn as much as possible about what it means to grow a company, about what it means to build a company, to fundraise, etc.
Yeah, that's really cool though. That it's interesting how you spent 4 years at college, but then you still had to come out and you still had to learn and get some hands-on experience.
Hmm.
And All right, so then, yeah, did you
Eh,
want to say something?
Well, yeah, I think that's just to me personally, right? And having helped, quite a few people come out and get jobs out of school, there's sometimes this disconnect in people's heads between like what college is going to be and what it actually is. And I think college is great, university is great, and I think anyone who has the chance to go should go. I also think at the same time there is this lack of real skilling happening in school today, right? This lack of teaching you exactly what you're going to need to know in the real world. And it's hard to teach that, right? I'm not blaming university. It's really hard to do everything that a university does. And there's no way they could teach everything. So I think it's on the individual, for better or worse, to um, ideally while you're in school, like junior, senior year, start to start to figure out what the real world's going to look like for you. And like, I wish I had started sooner. I mean, I was swimming full time, so it was really hard to take any internships. But if you can get a summer internship, even like if you're not getting paid, right? If you can do some free work on the side for a company, even if it's a couple hours a week, like that's going to teach you real world skills. It's also going to help you figure out what do you want to do, what do you not want to do after you graduate.
Yeah, I think that's very important that kid that you have a plan. You know, I'm in high school. I see it a little bit now with the juniors and seniors, and they need a plan. All right,
Yeah.
so then you went over to Ramped, and now was that during? I couldn't find exactly when, but was that during the pandemic, or was that a little bit after the pandemic that you started Ramped?
Yeah, basically right at the beginning, kind of like right in the yeah, I guess early days of pandemic. So 2020. So yeah, right around there.
So did he notice any because at this point you founded two or three of these companies. Did he have you noticed any parallels between starting and any similarities or
Yeah, for me, Ramped was both the easiest and the hardest thing I've ever done. Easy because we kind of knew the roadmap, right? We had done similar uh before, like started just kind of similar companies before and seen other founders close to me do it. But it was hard because it was the first time it was like totally on me and my other two co-founders. Like it was totally on us, right? So all the execution, all the planning, all of the decision making rested on our shoulders. It was our baby, whether it succeeded or failed, and that can be super scary. It was super scary and super stressful, but for us, we knew it was time. It was like now or never.
yeah, that really I guess I could have forced you to succeed because it was do or die at that point, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Essentially.
it is. Have you started anything? Have you done
Any
any startups or any summer jobs or anything like that?
um well this is the first successful thing that I've done. Well, not successful, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The first real thing,
yeah, the
starting this
first real
podcast.
thing. But now over the summer, I had a job at the boardwalk. I worked at
Cool.
some games there, and and I don't know. I've always tried like had ideas, visions of businesses in my head, but they never. I've looked into them all, and they've never really gone anywhere.
Yeah. What was it like starting the podcast for you? Did you have that feeling at all of like, holy crap, I'm gonna do it now, or was it just super easy the whole time? Like, how did it?
Well,
How did the initial start feel for you?
It's actually interesting because I read it. I got this idea from the paper. I read an article in the paper in the Wall Street Journal, and it was about some girl. And Crimson Education. Have you ever heard of them?
No, is it like a Harvard
No.
related thing?
So it's a college consulting firm,
Mm.
and it charges $300,000 a year. And this one girl was going there, and she was, hiring them, and well, her parents were, and she had 23 tutors. She was writing an academic paper, writing a novel, and she started a podcast. And I was like, how would you go about starting a podcast? And she was interviewing, the leading economists of the world. And I was like, how the hell would you go about doing something like that? And I don't know. One morning I just woke up and I was like, you know what? I bet if I really think about it, I could figure out how to do it. And and so yeah, I was like, I'm gonna email them. And it was amazing because I wrote, 100 emails and nobody got back. And I was like, all right, I'll write 100 more. And then, some people started getting back to me, and I was like, wow, this is working.
Yep.
Yep. So it wasn't even quite a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago that I actually started this.
That's killer, dude. I mean, that's all it takes, right? Is a little inspiration, a little execution.
Yeah. All right, but I guess enough about me. The listeners came for you. So tell us about your company, Ramped, because I think this could help a lot of people because the job search is a very difficult thing. So tell us about Ramped and what it does.
Yeah, so what we do at Ramped is we want to help make the job search as easy as possible for people. So what we built is essentially an AI co-pilot for your job search. So you come on to Ramped, you sign up, you tell us a little bit about yourself, your previous work experience, what you want to do in the future, how much money you want to make, where you want to live, etc. And we will use artificial intelligence to analyze you and who you are, right? Who's Mitch, who's Danny, and then compare that against all the jobs that we have in our jobs database. So kind of contextualizing those jobs as much as possible and then matching you with the right jobs. So think like kind of like Tinder for jobs, right? Or a dating app for jobs.
Okay, yeah.
And then we also do the actual application process. So you probably, I'm not sure if you've applied to jobs before, but typically they'll ask you to fill in, your basic kind of information over and over again, first name, last name, email, but then ask you a bunch of questions about yourself as well. Like, tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work here? Tell me about your experience in sales, or tell me about a time that you did X, Y, Z. So these kind of long form essay style questions that can take a lot of time to write, right? It's going
Yeah.
to take you, maybe upwards of 20, 30 minutes to fill out an application. If you have to do that, 200 times, we're talking about hours and hours, tens of hours of work. So what we do is we use AI again to then take the data you've given us on yourself, your information, and fill in all those questions using AI to write in your tone of voice, using AI to answer questions like you would answer them so that we can speed up that application process as well for you.
Wow, that's really cool that you're able to do that. So it's interesting. About yesterday, actually, I interviewed Mr. Sachs from Landbase. Have you heard of him or
No, what was the company?
Landbase? And
No, cool.
yeah, and it's actually agentive AI, and have you heard of that agentive AI or?
No, what was it mean?
Yeah, so it's actually AI that takes action on your behalf and it starts like preemptively doing stuff for you.
Ah, right, right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
agent AI, cool.
That's what they call it, I guess, in
Yeah,
the
sweet.
tech world. So, do you ever think have you started thinking about that or because I know it's such a new thing. What do you think about that agenda thing?
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. We've been waiting for that to kind of come about a little bit more and definitely looking into it as well. We're not using any agents today on our side, but I'm sure we will.
Cool.
What were they doing with it? Do you remember?
Yeah. So with Landbase, it was for B2B businesses looking to go to the market.
Mm,
So they were generating source leads that would actually
hmm.
convert into revenue. And it's similar to what you're doing. And they would take your company and they would go out, they would scour the internet and they would find companies that were best suited for yours and then write like a cold email or whatever they needed to, very personalized as well.
I love that. Very cool.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I also found that your company's 100% remote. Is that right?
Yes, 100% remote and
And you travel the
almost
world.
100. Yeah, 100% remote and almost 100% meeting free. We try not to meet as well, so do everything asynchronous.
That's amazing. So what's it like? Where have you been traveling to? How do you travel and work? That's
I've been a lot of places. The past, I guess I've been traveling now for almost 4 years. I've visited or lived in 30 countries. Um, and I try to stay somewhere for at least, 2 weeks at a time minimum. And then sometimes I'll stay for 2 or 3 months. So I just got back in the States. I was in Mexico for 3 months. I was in Morocco for 2 weeks. Before that, I was in sometimes I even forget, right? I spent most of the summer in
yeah.
North Carolina, which was nice with some family. But yeah, been traveling quite a bit.
So as a nomad, like that must be very interesting. And you like to surf. So I guess you can't always surf though at these places.
Yeah.
And that must be tricky. But what's it like to live as a nomad? How do you do that as well? Do you stay at a hotel? Do you have a home base somewhere or
Yeah, for me, it really happened. I was living in San Francisco during the pandemic with my my then partner, and we were spending, San Francisco's expensive, right? You spend about $3,000 a month on a one-bedroom apartment, and everything was shut down during the pandemic, right? The whole city was shut down. We couldn't go outside, couldn't go anywhere. San Francisco was super strict. So for us, it was like, okay, where else can we go in the world that's open and cheap? And we realized we were going to save a bunch of money if we stopped paying rent in San Francisco. So we always get Airbnbs. I always get Airbnbs now, and just live somewhere. Like the thing is for me is like if I can plop down in Mexico City or in Berlin or Amsterdam or in Spain, Madrid, Barcelona for a couple weeks at a time and really get to feel the city, that's like the ultimate freedom for me. And then it just gives me the flexibility to work wherever I want to be, to meet new friends, new people, try new food, and just live. It doesn't ever feel like vacation. I mean, I take real vacations, I guess, but most of the time I'm just living life in a new city, which is really fun.
Wow, that does sound like unbelievably cool. So
hmm
so
And it's getting really easy for now, right? Like I feel like for a lot of people this feels so unachievable, but nowadays with remote work and with good Wi-Fi everywhere, it's
yeah,
a lot
you
of
can
times
really
you're gonna be
do it.
saving money, honestly. Yeah, it's like so doable.
Wow, that's amazing because yeah, that is like, the dream for many to travel the world and to work, and you're saying it's even cheaper than to stay in one place.
It can be, yeah, for sure.
So so you're 30 right now. Am I correct? Because you're
Yeah,
30.
31.
31. Wow. Um, so it's interesting because it came up on the podcast yesterday, and that the landscape has been changing a little bit because previously the path to success was you would graduate college, go to a big firm like Merrill Lynch or Goldman Sachs or whatever, climb through
Yep.
the ranks, get some equity, reputation, and start your own business. But
Yep.
it seems like it's changing to exactly what you've done. You've gone to somewhere small and then you started your own. So describe that the changing landscape out there.
Yeah, I think that it is I think both exist, right? And I have lots of friends who followed both paths, who've gone big and then gone small. Or like me, go small and then go big and then go small again. So I think the cool thing that's changing now is that there's so many options, right? It used to be the only option was you either go to a big company or like the only option for an entrepreneur like me or like yourself, right? People who want to do their own thing is like you go to big companies, save money, and then eventually start your own business, or you like go out on your own and start something from scratch and like try and fail, try and fail, try and fail, just like keep going until something clicks. And I think now what's cool is there's so much opportunity and so many startups out there, and there's so many and there's job boards dedicated just to helping you find a job at a startup, that people get to go out and test the waters in the startup world without having to risk it all. Like you can go get $100,000 job at a startup nowadays, right? Or even a 50K job at a startup, right? Or a 40K job, like my first startup in New York. And I was living very cheap, right? But it was doable. And then I earned more and you earn more. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like there's just so much opportunity now for people to try before they buy, before they commit their lives to one type of career. And there's really no wrong or right answer, right? It's like whatever you feel most confident and comfortable doing. I mean, I've had friends who went to work at the same company for the past 10 years and never left. I've had friends that have started a company every other year, or other friends who just jump around companies every 2 years. So, you really have options now, I guess.
Yeah, and it's nice that there's a lot of money out there, and that you can do something like that to figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
Um, well, so Mr. Mitch, what's the
Mhm.
future looking like for you? We've gone over your entire career. How's your future looking like? What, do you think you're going to start any more companies? How's Ramp looking for the future?
Yeah, definitely. Right now, we're focused on building and growing Ramp and just trying to help as many people we can in the job search. That's priority number one. And then I'm definitely interested in starting more companies. I think the next couple of companies I start will be, small projects or products that I want in my own life, apps that I've been kind of craving. And I want to build more with AI. Like for me, I don't have any coding experience, but with AI nowadays, AI agents, like we were talking about earlier, just AI developer tools, it's pretty easy for any individual to even start to spin up an app. Maybe not like an enterprise grade or like a consumer grade app. Like I'm not going to build the next Spotify or Facebook overnight here, not knowing how to code, but you can start to build small little apps, personal apps, and then eventually go hire developers and grow that into a company. And that's what I'm excited about.
Wow, you really make it all seem so easy, when you put it like that, and when you lay
Well,
out
like
your
you said the same thing earlier, right? Like starting this podcast, you
yeah, it
just
was easier than I thought.
yeah, right. If you're like, oh yeah, if you just got a little inspiration, a little bit of like grit, like a little bit of willpower, you can do anything. And also like
Yeah,
time helps, right? You need a little bit of
yeah,
time to be able to
to
actually
take
take
it
it
on.
off the ground. Yeah.
So, but I guess it's not always so easy, and this is it's interesting. I always get tricked kind of like this. You make your career sound so easy, and everybody else has that I've interviewed,
Yeah.
but it's not. So, could you I guess share like some of the shortcomings or failures that most people never see?
Dude, yeah, 100%. You nailed it, right? It's easy to listen to a new podcast like this one, or you watch a YouTube video and be like, oh fuck, like why can't I do it? Like that guy did it, like that girl
Yeah,
did it, like oh my god, like what's wrong with me? The truth is, like, everyone has their own demons, their own battles to fight, right? And for like me, for the longest time, starting was the hardest part. Like I told you, right? Like that's why I went and joined that small company. That's why I went and worked for a big company and saved half my income for a while. Like I wanted to be super safe to start. Like I just needed that confidence before I could even go out on a limb. Other people, starting's easy, but the execution's hard, right? They can start anything, but following through and finishing something becomes really hard. So for me, it was like get the confidence to start, and then after that, like I had enough real world work experience where I knew I could almost do anything as long as I sat down and put my mind to it. Um, but it doesn't mean I don't have doubts. It doesn't mean that there's days when I'm so stressed out that I can barely even eat or think, right? Like I think that is what I've learned as I've gotten a little bit older is just to try to find more balance in my life. And like, oh, surfing is really important for me, or being outside in nature is really important for me. Like things that I can do in life that bring me joy will help balance out maybe the stress of work, or maybe the stress of, I mean, some people, they're starting companies and they have families, they have 3 kids, right? Like there's gonna be so much stress with that behind the scenes that nobody ever sees in your office. So I guess the short answer is yes. It's all very easy and all very hard at the same time. And the long answer is if you can find ways to balance your life out and focus on what brings you the most joy, whether that's working for the same company for the next 30 years or whether that's starting a new app every 10 days, like whatever brings you joy in life, I think is going to let life be easier for you.
yeah, but it's funny. You said it exactly. It's pretty easy and it's pretty hard. To start something. It's exactly with this. It was super easy to start it, but it's hard to keep going with it, right?
Yeah.
And
Why do you think that is?
well, I realized with this podcast, but I didn't think this would be an issue at first. But there's a lot of rejection. I've sent maybe like I said
Yeah.
thousands of emails, and it's that constant failure. And also it's for me because I'm still in school. I'm looking at what other kids are doing for their college, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could be doing this for my application or that for my application.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard just to stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, you like constantly compare yourself, right? Like, oh shoot, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? The rejection's real, like you said. It's
Yeah.
really real. And that hurts, right? Because you're inspired and you're like, why isn't this person be inspired when I'm inspired?
Yeah, a little bit, and it does add up. But I figured, I email enough people, and enough people are going to get back to me. I kind of play the numbers like that, and I'll be in good business, and that's what's been going
Yeah.
on.
That's
Now,
cool that you found that out early because that in and of itself will keep that will ring true in so many things in life. Like if you go into sales, it's a numbers game, right? You knock on 100
yeah,
doors to sell something, call 100 people, email 100 people, 5 to 10% are going to get back to you. That's just the math. You apply to 100 jobs, 1 to 5 of them are going to get back to you, right?
unless
Like
you use ramped.
unless you spent, I mean, it's still a numbers game. We're just going to automate it for you, but and improve your odds a little bit. Yeah, but yeah, that numbers game is true. Like it's just like in any sport too. Like the best baseball players in the world. I know nothing about baseball, but I know that the best hitters in the world hit 25 to 35%, right? And that's like world class.
Yeah.
So yeah, you nailed it, right? Like just keep swinging, like keep taking shots.
So how about you for you? Because it's interesting with every different person that I interview. Everybody's got something different driving them. Whether it's like something they're fulfilling themselves, they're chasing a goal. What's motivating you?
Right now, what's motivating? I think it's changed throughout my career a little bit, but one
Okay.
thing that's always been constant is learning. If I feel like I'm learning, gaining new skills, I feel like I'm getting better in life, I'm upgrading my life, like that's motivating. Right now, what's motivating me is kind of what I talked about earlier, like finding joy in the work I've done. Like I know I can do anything right now, work wise. I want to do stuff that brings me excitement and joy every day. I know I'm not going to be happy every day. I know that I'm not. I'll still be stressed sometimes, but I want to wake up being pulled into the work I do. And I think right now for me, that's building product, like using these tools, like we were talking about earlier, some of these AI tools to build more product. That's what I love doing right now with Ramped and the other companies I'm working with. So if I can do more of that, I think I'll find a lot of joy in that and be able to bring more of myself into the world.
It's interesting. I've only interviewed maybe four other people, but you're the first person to talk about like bringing joy and like happiness, and that's important to you.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just really interesting how the others haven't, but that is such a big part that I think is overlooked.
I, I think so, right? I personally think so. I think like what stresses me out is money, right? Like, oh, I want more
Yeah.
money out because I want more freedom and more time in my life. But I've noticed that whenever I chase the money, my happiness drops. So what I'm
Huh.
trying to do now is chase the happiness, right? Chase the joy,
Yeah.
do what brings me motivation in life and let the money come, right? Instead of chasing it the other way around. And and I think I've just matured enough to where personally, right? And everyone's different. There's so many motivations in life, but for me personally, I think that I'm okay not having the money, I guess. Like I've enjoyed living on the beach in Mexico dirt cheap. Like I can live that life fine as long as I'm
Yeah.
happy, right? And that's just freed me over the past year, which has been really nice.
Wow, that's unbelievable that, you are kind of like a surfer dude, that
I
that you're
am, but
so like,
I still want to
cool
fly
and
first class to Amsterdam
yeah.
and ball out.
Yeah. So like
I want both.
so like, a high class one, like a first class.
Exactly, exactly. First class surfer, I'll take that.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What about you? What's motivating you right now?
What's motivating me? Um, it changed for me a little bit too because at first it was I wanted to do it for college, but now I do it because I really do actually love it. I
Cool.
feel like there's talking to you, talking to everybody, has their own company, and that's honestly for me an entirely new world. Everybody, like you had this career company, and that made me look at the job application world. And yesterday he had the software company, and that made me look at that, and it's a new world. And I just realized there's so much in the world now, and that I can actually do it. I can actually get to
Mm.
it. I can unlock
Mm-hmm.
it and achieve it. And it's just amazing to feel that energy and to feel that it's possible for me. And so now, honestly, my goal is just to get as much to get as much of that as I can, I guess.
That's dope. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. I think that the way you're doing it is both really impressive for someone your age to like take a risk, right? And I don't like to think about age that much because I think more and more like you said, like anyone can do anything. So in general, it's impressive, right? Regardless of age, honestly. Like start a podcast is dope. Second of all, like it's gonna help you a lot. And then third of all, personally for me, like if I can find inspiration in others, that's the biggest motivator. So the way you're doing it is really dope, dude.
Well, thank you, man. And that's kind of like our half hour right there that we've been on there. I try to keep the podcast at about half hour, but I really do
Cool.
appreciate it. I hope you find some good ways, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun. And likewise to you. I think you're going to crush it whatever you do in life. And I'm
Thank
sure
you.
anyone listening to this will as well, because if you found this podcast, then you're on the right track.
Certainly. All right. Thank you, man. Have a good night.
All right. You too. Talk soon.
Talk
Peace.
soon. Yep.